Hey review family, keep it tight. My name is Jay Morris, reviewing music for the love of music, and welcome back to the metal Tempest. And in this video I'm going to be covering the new Amon Amarth record entitled The Great Heathen Army. It is hard to believe that the Swedish ragers, the Viking metal killers, the berserker slayers, Amon Amarth, are on their 12th studio-length album here. Follow-up to their 11th Berserker, which I felt pretty positively about. I thought that it was a little long-winded and maybe a step down from their prior release, but I thought it was pretty good. And there are a lot of things stepping into this record that extremely excited me as an Amon Amarth fan. The fact that it is their first record since their debut release, I believe, to feature them on the cover. The fact that the name of the record references part of Viking mythology, or I guess not even mythology, history, which is a good sign given their past material, and just the fact that Johan went on the record saying that some of this record was going to be darker. But I think a lot of my expectations got squandered a little bit for pretty much what was on Berserker. Now let me give a bit of context. The reason I was so excited about the fact that the Great Heathen Army was the topic matter is my favorite Amon Amarth record is Viking. And the reason why is Viking had an amazing concept behind it, and Amon Amarth's material can blend a bit together. Unlike some other melodic death metal bands that came around similar time period to them, like Dark Tranquillity, In Flames, as well as At the Gates, while those bands have been apt to experiment throughout the years and sort of add some variation into their musical stylings, Amon Amarth have pretty much played it similarly to their other records time and time again. Consider them like the Breaking Benjamin of the Viking metal world, consider them like the Cannibal Corpses for death metal. And if you're unfamiliar with the topic matter, the Great Heathen Army was basically this coalition of Scandinavian warriors that ended up invading England. Up until that point in the 8th century, the Vikings had kind of pillaged and raided a variety of things associated with the English and stole, pillaged, scavenged, anything you want to really say under that supposition. But then they basically formed this party, this coalition of Vikings to try to take some of the land of the English, some key points. They really wanted to invade and they wanted to conquer. So as opposed to sort of the minor raids that they'd done up until that point, they really took the extra mile to try to steal, to try to conquer occupied land. Now, unlike Viking, which had an extremely emotional edge to it given the topic matter, which I do want to make a video on at some point, expect that at some point I might do it, the concept here isn't nearly as fleshed out. Conceptually, these songs don't really flow together with the theme, and that was something I was a little disappointed with. Now, while there are occasionally some surprises across this record, like some singing on the track Saxons and Vikings from Saxons lead singer Biff, and sometimes the lingering towards a more dark-themed melodic death metal riff, most of this track listing takes on a similar tone in every sense of the word to Berserker. Anthemic, heavy, chunky, roaring, with Johan Hegg engaging in his typical gruntural death metal growls. He doesn't really expand his range, he doesn't particularly need to, but it can provide a bit of fatigue. And this makes me sad to say, and I feel like some of you guys are probably going to disagree with this take, I just feel like this record is more gimmicky than usual. Now, of course, Amon Amarth are Vikings. They have that Viking vibe to them, their mythology, every single record that they do, their song titles, their presentation, their live shows, their album covers, everything has to do with Vikings. So I'm not going to sit here and say their entire brand is like a sham. It's actually been amazing on certain records. Twilight of the Thunder God come to mind, Viking comes to mind, and even Berserker. But I've noticed that ever since Berserker, they've been on a trajectory where they've been laying more and more into it as sort of a crutch, as a gimmick. So many of these tracks take on that anthemic role, that Viking role, and feel more like a combination of a dirge and also a battle anthem. And anthemic vibes are what Amon Amarth are known for. But when it's every single track taking on these maniacal solos and these thudding riffs, it just becomes a little bit cumbersome to listen to on repeat. And even more so than Berserker, I feel like the gimmick of the Viking vibe on this record is just so apparent, and it saps some of the creativity musically that this record otherwise could have had. Johan did go on paper saying that this was going to be a heavier record, and there are certainly moments that it is heavier. Dawn of Norsemen is a very heavy song. Oden Owns You All is a very heavy song, so I can provide some clarity and say that yes, some of this record is heavier, but they still pack in those melodic death metal riffs and those Viking semblances to take it down a notch and make it feel, and dare I say, cheesy. If you're looking for a conceptually rich Amon Amarth record, you're not going to get it here. But if you are looking for something very similar to Berserker but turn up the intensity of the Viking metal, this will be right up your alley. I unfortunately wasn't very impressed with this record because I found it to be extremely gimmicky. Johan is still a very leader of a frontman. I can't exactly explain how much he just shouts these grunterial growls to really push a track forward and feel like that Viking commander. If there was ever a frontman to lead a track and make you feel like you're going into battle, it's him. And while I can't exactly say that the solos here are their weakest, they're certainly not some of their strongest. I think there were many better solos on Berserker, many on Jomsviking, many on Twilight of the Thunder God. But it's a comfortable, grooving, melodic death metal record. I will commend and say that it's not as long-winded as Berserker was. A very large issue I had with that record was the length of it made it just such a slog to get through. I didn't really find myself feeling too isolated from the length of this track listing, and I didn't particularly get bored. And I would say that overall I feel a bit more positively than negatively, because there is something to be said about a rip-roaring melodic death metal record that stays so close to what the formula is. When you have all of these melodic death metal bands experimenting and trying to push the genre out of its comfort zone, it's good to have a safe place, even if the material's not some of their strongest. I didn't particularly find this record to be any more dark than usual. I didn't find this record to be particularly heavier than usual, and for them saying it's some of their heaviest material, their early material is far more heavy than this, and not that heaviness is really a debate, but when the two selling points that Johan made about this record was it's going to be darker, it's going to be heavier, I really didn't feel either of those on this record. It's still pretty good though. It's an Amon Amarth record. What can you say? I do like it a lot less than Berserker though. I'm going to be giving this album a 6 out of 10. And that is a wrap. Have you heard this new Amon Amarth record, The Great Heathen Army? If you have, let me know in the comment section below what you thought about it. I would love to discuss this record with you. Be sure to like this video if you enjoyed it, subscribe to join the review family today, and smash that notification bell to be notified of my future uploads. You know who it is, my name is Jay Morris, and I'm signing off saying farewell.